You know how we're always making guesses about things that have already happened? We do it all the time, right? We piece together little clues to figure out what went down. Well, English has a specific set of tools just for this, and today we're going to turn you into a grammar detective. So grab your magnifying glass, the investigation is about to begin. Okay, so picture this. You wake up, you look outside, and there are puddles everywhere. You'd probably think, it must have been raining. Now, you weren't there, you didn't actually see it rain, but all the evidence points to one single conclusion. This is a little mystery solved with language. So how does our grammar actually signal that we're making a logical guess and not just stating a cold, hard fact? And that's exactly what this explainer is all about. We're going to treat the past like a giant puzzle. The clues? Well, those are the things we can see or know right now in the present. And our conclusions are the logical guesses we make about what happened before. And the grammar? That's our detective's toolkit for putting all the pieces together. This right here perfectly sums up our everyday detective work. You go to make coffee, the pot is completely empty. That's your clue. You know for a fact you didn't finish it, so you deduce, she must have used the last of the coffee. See? You've just used logic to come to a really probable conclusion about something that happened in the past. Okay, so how do we actually build these sentences? It's not just random, you know? There's a very specific and very consistent formula we use to show that we're speculating. So let's break down that core structure. And here it is, the secret formula for all our detective work. It's a pretty simple three-part structure. First, you pick a modal verb, words like must, may, or couldn't. Then you always add the word have. And finally, you tack on the participle form of the main verb, like rained, been ringing, or left. This combination is the key. It's what tells everyone you're making a calculated guess about the past. But here's the thing. Not all guesses are equal. Sometimes you're like 99% sure, and other times you're just kind of throwing out a possibility. The specific modal verb you choose is what dials that level of certainty up or down. Think of it like a volume knob for your confidence. And that's what we'll get into next. This chart lays it all out perfectly. If you're certain because of the evidence, you use must have. You see the wet ground, so it must have been raining. Simple. If something is just a possibility, you use may, might, or could have. Maybe you thought you heard something, so your phone may have been ringing. And if you're sure something didn't happen, you go with couldn't have. I just checked my call history, he couldn't have called. Now, there's one last little layer to this whole thing. You've got to ask yourself, are you speculating about an action that was ongoing for a while, or was it a single quick event? If it was a long or repeated action, you use the continuous form. He must have been singing. But if it was a short, one-and-done action, you use the simple form. She must have left. It's a subtle distinction, but it's a really important one. All right, you've got the tools. You know the formula, you know how to adjust for certainty, and you know the difference between long and short actions. It's time to put on your detective hat and crack a few cases. Let's see how you do with a quick quiz. Okay, here's your first case. The verb is sit. Your main clue is 3 people saw him. So, what do you think? Are we certain here? And is sitting a long action or a short one? I'll give you a second. And the correct deduction is must have been sitting. Why? Well, 3 people saw him is pretty strong evidence, so we use must for certainty. And since sitting is an ongoing action, we need that continuous form, have been sitting. Case closed. On to the next case. The verb is dance. The clue? She had a broken foot. Now this one's a little different. What's the logical conclusion here? Think carefully about that level of certainty. And the answer is couldn't have been dancing. I mean, a broken foot makes it pretty much impossible for her to have been dancing. Right. So we use couldn't have to show that impossibility, and we add the continuous form for the action, dancing. Excellent deduction. Okay, last one. The verb is take. The clue is, I don't know this area. Imagine you're lost. What's the most logical explanation for how you ended up here? What's your best deduction? The solution here is must have taken. Being lost is really strong evidence that you made a mistake, so must is definitely the right choice. And taking a wrong turn is a single action that happened at a specific point, so we use the simple form, have taken. Great work, detective. Fantastic job cracking those cases. You've totally got the core principles down for speculating about the past. So let's do a quick summary of everything that's now in your new Grammar Detectives toolkit. And here it is, all laid out on one slide. The basic formula is always modal plus have plus the participle. You use must have for when you're certain, may, might, could have for when it's just a possibility, and couldn't have when something's impossible. And don't forget, use the continuous form for long actions and the simple form for short ones. This is your go-to guide. Remember, this isn't just some boring grammar rule. It's a tool for thinking. It lets you express these complex ideas about logic and evidence in the past. From figuring out who finished the coffee to pondering big historical events, the structure is always the same. If you found this grammar investigation helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe over at youtube.com/@KennethFarella-C6P for more explainers just like this one. So now that you have the tools, what past mysteries will you solve?